Oh, hello. So I am about to start reading something that I wanted to be part of a vlog. So even though I'm about to go to bed, I'm starting a vlog. So I have been writing a lot, which has been great. I've also been reading a lot of heavy nonfiction, which is what I've been in the mood to read, so also great. But I do think I could use with some lightness, short things, or just not complicated things. So in the interest of short things, I'm gonna start on short story spring, short story summer, either way. Short story spring, summer, because I don't know how long this is gonna go. But I have, I have a bunch of Nora Roberts novellas that I need to read in my Reading Roberts, quest. So I figured maybe I could just get them all out of the way. And then also I have a bunch of short story collections that have been building up on my physical TBR, so that contributes to my physical TBR read down project. I've got one literary collection. Actually, you know what? Back here is where they are, so let me go grab them real quick. Okay, so we've got one literary collection, which is Stephen Milhauser's Voices in the Night. I think I've read some of the ones that are in here already, but I don't think I've read all of them, so we'll see. And then I have all those Nora Roberts short stories and novellas. I think there's I want to say 8 or 9 of those, so I'm going to treat those as a digital collection unto themselves. Then I have 5 speculative collections. Got The Inheritance and Other Stories by Robin Hobb. That's exciting. I've got Love Beyond Body, Space, and Time, an Indigenous LGBT sci-fi anthology. It's pretty short. We've got The Tangleroot Palace by Marjorie Liu, and I have enjoyed her romance writing as well as her graphic novel series Monstrous that she does in collaboration. So yeah, we'll see what that's like. Got Arboreality by Rebecca Campbell, which is a sci-fi collection that Angela from Literature Science Alliance was really into a couple years ago, so she influenced me to get that. And then Fit for the Gods, which is Greek mythology reimagined, edited by Jen Northington and S. Zainab Williams. I think Alyssa Cole has Alyssa Cole's in here, Sarah Gailey, Zoraida Cordavo. So I think that'll be good too. So I think I got a nice mix. I've got 1, 2, 3. I've got 3 collections that have that are anthology style. And then I've got 3 plus Nora Roberts that are a single author. So, a nice melange. And I have no idea how long this is going to take. This might take, I guess it just depends on how much of a groove I get into this, but I am prepared for this to take until the end of summer, but maybe I just really get in the mood for short stories and start plowing through them. But I'm imagining this as I'm too tired to read a full thing right now, but I could do something short. That is kind of how I envision this fitting in, which is exactly what I'm in the mood for tonight. So I think I'm going to pick a story, I'm going to pick a collection, and get going. So, stay tuned. Hello. We are doing an update because it's been a while since I checked in on this. So I have finished 3 novellas from Nora Roberts, and I have finished a full collection from Stephen Milhauser. So on Nora Roberts, not my favorite outings from her. We've got, one of the things I had on my list was chapter 2 from Naked Came the Phoenix. And I thought that was a short story collection or a novella collection because she definitely contributes to some of those, as we will talk about in a second. But it turns out it was a book. It seems like there was a series of these books where different authors would write a chapter of the same book. So the first chapter would be author A, the second chapter would be author B, the third chapter would be author C, but it's one story. She contributed chapter 2 to Naked Came from the Phoenix, or Naked Came the Phoenix, whatever it was called, under her J.D. Robb pen name. And since it was chapter 2, I was like, okay, I'll read the first chapter, and then I'll read the second chapter that she wrote, and if I'm into this, I'll keep going. No. I'm not even going to rate it, because, like, it's an interesting concept, but it just isn't well done, to my taste at least. So, no bueno. Then I moved on to the Once Upon series from her, because I thought that these were different novellas, and the one that I owned, or let me rephrase, I thought these were unrelated collections. She contributed to a bunch of collections that start with Once Upon. So like Once Upon a Dream, Once Upon a Time, Once Upon a Castle, different things like that. And I realized that they were actually more of a series, and I guess they kind of are so far, not totally, but sort of. So I was like, okay, let me go back, because the one that I have as an ebook is the third one. So let me go back to the first one just to get a sense of like what the series is like. So I did that, and I hate it. I mean, not hate, that's too strong, but I do not like it. It is my least favorite kind of Nora Roberts. It's a Nora where there are fae. It's like her doing actual fantasy stuff, and I just don't ever like how it's done. I don't think I've read one yet that I really fully enjoy. Some better than others, but the fae stuff just is not my favorite mode from her at all. And the first story, like the guy, it's just, I don't even know how to explain the things I didn't like about it. It just is not for me. I don't like the way she does the magic part. And then it tends to have these tropes of like fate, but I don't really like the way she does that version of fate. Like, you could argue that most romance has some version of fated mate. I know people won't like that. That's a controversial opinion, but just like even contemporaries, I think they usually, very often, they have an element of suspension of disbelief, because like these two people do seem like they're fated for each other in some way, but the way she does that in the context of these fae stories, I don't like. So that was not for me. So then I went ahead and read the third one that I already had, because I'm like, I don't think I'm going to enjoy any of these. I might as well go ahead and I don't really care about the story, the series continuity. So I'll just read the one I got. I did like that one better. It was more hero in pursuit, which I think helped a little bit, but I gave the first one I read 2 stars. I gave that one 3 stars. Okay. So that's where I'm at with Nora Roberts. Then last night, I just woke up. I finished this collection I've been working on, which is Voices in the Nights by Stephen Milhauser. This was like an interesting read for just like where I'm at in my reading journey, because I loved Stephen Milhauser back in the day. Like kind of right out of college. Like it's the magical realism that I enjoy, and I would still say like this is my flavor of magical realism. Like that is still true. But I've read a couple of these stories before, and just being at a different place in my life, I guess I just have a different perspective on some of the themes. I don't know. I was like glancing at the back to see who blurbed, and just like the over adulation here. Powerful, sublime, astonishingly beautiful stories, exquisite, devastating, suggestive, brave, and inspired. Arresting, essential reading, lapidary, disturbing, mandarin, brilliant, and perverse and funny, profound, mesmerizing, magical. It's like, I don't know. I get that the blurbs are just meant to be like hyping you up, but it's just so overblown. And it really like kind of matches now my impression, which is like, I like Stephen Milhauser, but I just think that maybe he a little overblown. I don't know. I feel bad saying that, because like I loved him back in the day. I don't know. They don't hit the same for me. Which were the ones I liked the best? A Report on Our Recent Troubles, that was definitely, I'd read that one before, I'm pretty sure, and I still really like that one. And then The Wife and the Thief also was another one I really enjoyed. His theming in the retelling of Rapunzel, I just don't know about. the opening story, which is called Miracle Polish, I think had some interesting ideas about like idealization. I don't know. It's like there's some interesting ideas in here, and the writing is still good. Like I still like this. Like I would give this somewhere between a 3.5 and a 4 star. I enjoyed this, but it was more just like it made me reflect that I just think this kind of writing is less impressive than I used to. Even though I would say it probably really, it's very. When I look back at the short stories I've written over the years, they're very much in this vein. Like this version of kind of magical realism tends to be a lot of what I go to in short story writing, or at least when I was writing more short stories. And I guess maybe I'm just less impressed with it because I'm less impressed with myself, possibly. I don't know. None of that probably makes a lot of sense. I think it was just I think I had an interesting reflection on my own development as a reader and like as an engaged reader with authors, I guess. I don't know. None of this is making sense. I'm going to stop there. I'm going to give this somewhere between 3.5 and 4 stars. It was good. I'd read some of these stories before. I still enjoy him. I just think now like he's a little... He's come down, I guess, in my estimation. Like, I feel, after reading this, I feel less fondly about him than I did going into it. So, for whatever that's worth. I finished another book, another collection. And in terms of stuff I've finished, we are not having a good success rate so far, guys. Because I've finished, I think, because I'm reading these, like, in parallel. I think everything I've talked to you about finishing have been from authors that I have enjoyed, and therefore these should be sure things, and yet somehow they're not. So I finished The Tangleroot Palace by Marjorie Liu. So to be fair to me, in pre-ordering this, I realized I missed this in my great pre-order sweep I did last year. I pre-ordered this in 2021, and I do love Monstrous. She is the writer of that comic, and she has a partner who does the art for it. It's a great graphic novel series, though admittedly, I'm waiting for the current arc to wrap up before I catch up with it because I feel like it needs to land the plane a little bit. But I love that series. Absolutely. So I thought, here's somebody whose imagination I love and a story collection I'm sure I will enjoy. And it wasn't bad, but I did realize I've never actually, I don't think anyway, I read a lot, so I may have forgotten this, but I don't believe I've ever actually read a novel from Marjorie Liu before. And I don't really love her writing style. It's okay, but it's not my favorite. And that just pains me to say. And then most of these just didn't have interesting enough premises to them for me to really, for that to compensate. And that surprised me because the Monstrous series is so inventive with its fantasy. I really enjoy that series a lot and I love the imagination behind it. So I'm just surprised that this did not really work that well for me. There was a Sleeping Beauty reach. I'm like struggling to even remember what these were because I just found them kind of like blah. There was one about kind of a lady pirate type situation. What was that one called? And she was like The Light and the Fury. Okay, this is definitely, I think, the best story in the collection. I'd give it like a 4 star. But it's like this woman who has got like a tortured past and she is on basically like a suicide mission on behalf of the Chinese government. And it's kind of presupposing a world where China colonized South America instead of Europe, or like in parallel. I don't totally remember because it's been a few days since I read it. But I liked that one. I liked the characters. The magical element was interesting. Like that definitely is the best story in this collection. There's 2 novellas at the end, both of which I thought were just blah. I just finished the titular story and I barely can remember what it's about. Yeah, I'm just bummed to tell you this I didn't think was that great. I'll give it 3 stars. It wasn't like terrible, but I was expecting I was really gonna love this. And I'm nervous because the only collection I have left from an author that I know and love, I haven't started yet, and it's the Robin Hobb collection, and surely that there's no way Robin Hobb is gonna let me down in her short stories, right? Like, there's no way. I hope not. But yeah. Okay. I'll check in with you when I finish either another Nora Roberts novella or another collection. But wish me luck. This, I feel like, is not going that great so far. Okay. I think we've got the book I felt most positive about coming out of it, and that is Arboreality by Rebecca Campbell. I thought it was short stories, but I would describe this as interconnected vignette novella. It is multi-generational, and it's basically just about climate change disaster in the, like, Vancouver Island area. It's short. I don't really feel like I should say much more beyond that in terms of what it is, because it is so slight. I think the prose is pretty spare, but, you know, well considered. I thought it was well written. And I like this. I think I picked this up because Angela from Literature Science Alliance said this was one of her favorites the year that it won an award of some kind. You know, I'm always down for some Canadian stuff. So yeah, I would say it's probably a 3.5, but I'll give it a 4 just because the, like, BC Vancouver Island vibes just made me feel nostalgic for when I lived in that area. So I liked that, but yeah, a good sci-fi post-apocalyptic little novella. And yeah, an author I hadn't read before that I did better with than I have been doing with the authors I have read from before. So I guess that is a refreshing change of pace. Hey, I finished another book. Love Beyond Body, Space, and Time, an Indigenous LGBT sci-fi anthology. You know, it's Pride Month now when I'm filming this. And so, gay. Hi, gay. This is Indigenous, and it's specifically focused on Two-Spirit stories. And one thing I have to say I loved about this is that these are truly short stories. So none of these, I think, are more than 20 pages. And I just really appreciated that because I really love that kind of truly short story. And I feel like a lot of collections these days, these short stories are getting to be closer to novella length-ish. So I appreciated it was so short. Varied quality, as is typical in this kind of anthology, but I really enjoyed this. I picked this up on the recommendation of Possibly Literate, like, years ago. And I don't know, I feel like it held up. The two best stories were definitely the one from Darcy Little Badger. That was my favorite one far and away. That was called Nele. That was the one that I definitely liked the best. And then I also really liked the opening story, which is Aliens by Richard Van Camp. And, you know, the others I probably would say I had varying levels of enjoyment. But as a collection overall, I would give this like 4 stars. I thought this was really just good, different. It had a theme and a genre, but it was a broad enough theme that I enjoyed seeing a lot of variation in terms of how people approached it. It wasn't like, I don't know, I think in some collections it can get a little limiting. Like if you say everything has to have, I don't know, a spaceship. There's only so many spaceship stories there are, but because this is just like broadly sci-fi, we had spaceships, we had alien invasion, we had like mild dystopia. It was just a nice range. So all that to say, 4 stars, really enjoyed this. Howdy. I think we have finished this project because I just finished a book. I'm about to finish this cardigan, put a collar in, but I've always wanted one of these granny square cardigans and I have one. But before I tuck in with my crochet, I thought we could end this vlog on a high note because I read, I think, my favorite collection so far, which is Fit for the Gods. This is edited by Jen Northington and S. Zeneb Williams, and it has a lot of stories in it. This is like a 400-ish page collection. So there are probably a dozen stories in here, no more, probably like 20 stories. And, you know, there's the same variation that we've talked about in the other, you know, books we've been covering here. But I think overall the quality of this was the highest so far. And I think the highs were very high. So the concept of this is a collection themed around the Greek gods, written from voices that don't normally get incorporated into that mythology. So specifically trying to focus on familiar lore to new destinations around the globe, different cultural takes on the Greek mythology. So yeah, I would say some of these read, I'm going to be honest with you, a little fan fiction-y, but not, I don't mean that derogatory. They're just the Greek gods in kind of a normal contemporary setting. So those I think were fine, but not necessarily that notable. The ones that I thought were the best were Wild to Covet by Sarah Galley. That one is almost sort of like a, kind of maybe like a horror Western vibe, which makes sense for their work more broadly. The Ship of Thea by Suleika Snyder. I thought that was a really good take. I really liked Eagles at the Edge of the World by Taylor Ray. The Gorgon Confessionals by Zoraida Cordova. That was a fun, sort of almost like a documentary transcript form, which I thought was cool, and had a nice twist on the Medusa story. But my favorite, unsurprisingly, in this collection is the one from Alyssa Cole, because I love Alyssa Cole, and she had a futuristic dystopian take on the Hades and Persephone story that I really enjoyed. Yeah, really good. So I would say overall I'd give this a 4-star, and I think this is a really good collection if you enjoy short stories, if you like any of the authors that are included, and if you're interested in, yeah, like you get just a lot of stories in here. So there's probably something for you somewhere in here if these are buzzwords at all. So yeah, I'm going to end this on a high note also because honestly, the only collection I have left is from Robin Hobb, and the idea of ending this video with Robin Hobb not delivering for me kind of like breaks my soul. So I'm just going to avoid that. And plus I do have a trilogy I'm going to be starting soon from Robin Hobb, so I feel like saving her short stories for after that probably makes sense. And then I'll keep chipping away at those Nora Roberts novellas. I think I just, yeah, the Once Upon series kind of killed my appetite for more of that right now. So I'll get to those eventually. I also realized some of those novellas are in series, so I guess it probably makes sense to wait until I've read some of those series to read the novella. But all that being said, we're done, which is a lot sooner. We're in June, Pride. Oh yeah, my Gay Farmers Market tea. Happy Pride. I thought that this project might run me through the end of the summer, but not so much. It ended up being more short story spring rather than short story summer. So we'll call this one done. I will put the numbers up. I have been looking, I did a recount recently, and I have some very theoretically exciting news, if my math is correct, that I overcounted originally, which means I may be closer to my goal than I thought, but I'm not gonna, I'll save that for our mid-year check-in, because I kind of feel like it's too good to be true. So I'll put the numbers as they stand after this. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know what you thought about any of the books or authors I talked about in it. Let me know if you have any short story collections that you love that you would recommend. I'm always open for those because I really like short stories. And yeah, I think that'll do it for me. Hit the bell if you want to know when I'm going to post. Take care of yourself and your community, and I will just talk to you soon. Bye.